class we are going to discuss static keywords in Java. And static keyword basically or it's a different types of like say variables, member functions. There are blocks. So static variables are those which persist even after the control return from the methods. In terms of static members, as class member, they are members for a class and not for an object. Static data members are needed when only one piece of storage is needed for a particular piece of data, regardless of how many objects are created or even if no objects are created. Static method is not associated with any particular object of this class. So we will learn all this. What is that? So here I am saying that the static method is not associated with any particular object of data. So when we call the static method, we don't need any object for that. Okay, so we will see that with one examples. Okay, so this means that it is a method that one can call even if no objects are created. One such method is the main method of all Java programs. You know that we use the static keyword in main methods. So why we use that there? Because main method did not require any objects. Okay, so it is known that the methods of a class are defined only once and they can call by an objects of the class. But static methods are those method which belongs to class only. Static member can be either method or static data. Static data member, field plus method are sometimes known as class variables, or a class method as belong to the whole of the class. So sometimes class variables also known as the class sometimes the static variables also known as the class variables. So let's see the first what is a static keyword in Java. So here, if a member is declared as a static, then it basically means that the member is shared by all instances of a class without making copies of per instance. Thus, static is a non-class modifier used in Java and can be applied to the following members. So here you see that we can apply the in the variables and in methods, in blocks, in class known as nested classes. Okay, so we will see one by one with also the examples. Okay, in Eclipse IDE. Now I have defined the static keyword. So if a member declared as a static, then it basically means that the member is shared by all instances of a class without making copies of per instances. So let's see one example here of a static variables, like say here in a static variables makes your program memory efficient. So why do we use that? So it makes our programs memory efficient. Okay, and basically it saves memory. So when we define a static variable, a single copy of variable is created and divided among all its objects at the class level. Static variables are also known as class variables. Okay, this could be asked in questions. Okay, what is a class variables? So you can say that when we define a variable inside a class with a static keyword, that variable is called static. That variable is called class variable. Okay, and it is sometimes also called global variables. So basically all the instances of the class share the same static variable. Static variable can be created at class level only. So here you see that one example here is students. Here the roll numbers name. You know that in a schools thousands of students are there. So let's say suppose class 10. In class 10 there are say 30 students. Okay. So like say each students having their own roll numbers and name, but actually the school will remain same for 30 students or the 1000 students of that schools. So let's say XYZ. So one student say here roll number 1 here, and say his name is say Virat, and his school is XYZ. because he is reading in that school. So say another student, say roll number 2, say Ankit. and his school is also XYZ, because school remains same. So once it is here defined the string here, so we will define this static here, okay, static keyword. So when we define a static string school, so it's will visible to all the objects. Okay, this is the separate objects. Like another object is created, it's roll number 3, and he is known is say Abdul, and his school is also the XYZ school. So here the static is static variable. This is the static variable we defined, and the name is remains same. So in here that we have defined as static. So here static is string school XYZ, and this is the constructor. In constructors there only roll numbers and name is I have taken here. So roll numbers is assigned to, this is the roll numbers instance variables, okay, and these variables is these variables when we don't define with any variables, that is called the instance variable. Okay, when variable defined without a static keyword, that variable is instance variable. When defined with a static keyword, static string school, this variable is called the class variable, because it directly belongs to the class. Okay, that's why, or it is also called the global variables. And here that we assign the roll numbers and then name, and then here display the roll numbers, name and school. Say I have passed here here now the call will be here. So when we create the object h1, and this say roll number 10 and Kohli is here, and then s2 roll number 2, then Bumrah is here. When it is print, it will print the school name here. Okay, let's see these examples in the Eclipse IDE. So here I have created one student class here. Okay, actually I'll just miss that static keyword. Okay, so here the static string is school XYZ here, and when I'll define these methods here, the display. So yeah, in this class, this is the student class, is contain two variables. This is the instance variables, and here you see this is the static string variables, and this is the constructors I have defined it, and this is one method that will print the roll numbers, name and schools, and this method will call here with the help of this, like the student h1 Kohli. So here you see that the only pass two values here, roll number and name, not the school name, because the school name is remain same throughout the whole students of this school. So when I run it, so what will happen here? You see that here the 10 Kohli XYZ school, then 10 Bumrah XYZ. So here when we define it in the 10 then Kohli, then 10 Bumrah, but the school I have not passed it. School will the school will take it from these variables. Okay, here is school. So I have already defined. So once the class is loaded, only one instance will create that is called, and it remain throughout the whole objects. Okay, so that's why it is belongs to the class. And also if I want to call if say I can also call the variables directly here. So say if I want to call, we don't need any object for that. So here say if I call that variables is shout, let's say that variables, and the variable name is a school there. So here what is the name here? Okay, so its variable name is school. Here is school, so it belongs to in the student. So I will write this the student name here. Okay, student class. So here is school. Okay, so here I've just told that where that this is school variable is there, so we can directly take that variables because we don't need the objects here. Like say this one or the objects is there s1 s2, so s1 is required, this display is required, s1 is here, the object will call the display, and then again s2 also call the display method. But here if I'll print it here, so here you see that school name is printed. But if I want to print say if I want to call, let's say here, say if I want to call the roll number that is there, so roll number, see it will not be taken because roll numbers will require the objects. So if I write here s1, so that you see this, the error is gone. So directly static variable we can call without any reference. Okay, so this is the static variables. Now I think static variable is clear. Static variables, that is here when we define the static variables, it will remain throughout the whole class. Okay, and say if you create thousands of objects, that's school name is same, because in a school every students read in the same school. So right, say in a school 1000 students are there, and you write some other school's name, it will not, because in a single schools all these 1000 students are studying, so the name of that schools is XYZ schools, whatever the name of the school, just I write here XYZ schools. Okay, I think its variable is clear. Now let's the static method. Now static method is also that when we define any method with a static keywords, so that method become the static methods. The famous example that we are actually doing in every time, that here when we call it here, you see that is static here. So here main method we don't require any object for calling of this. Like say the display method we required here the s1 here. S1 is what? It's in objects of this student class. But here main must be executed, so it did not require any objects. So that's why the static keyword is given. So so some of the key points of that static method directly belong to the class, as against other non-static method that are invoked using instance of a class. No need of any objects. Static variables of the class are accessible to the static method, and the static method will not refer these or super members. Even if a static method tries to refer them, it will be compile time error. So there will be no dish or super keyword in a static methods. So let's see one example here. So I'll write these examples directly in the Eclipse IDE. So here I have given the one static method here. So here you see that static void display, and when I have defined this void display here, and I have given here the static keywords. So now here it is in the main methods. So I call it directly here. See, there is no object of this static method class, no objects of such. So let's run it. When we run it, it will print I am a static methods. So let's say define another method here. I'll define another method, void print. So I'll do it another method. So I'll type it here sys out, and I'll write here I am a print method. Okay, I am print method with no static keyword, with no static keyword. Now what will happen if I call it directly? If I want to call this method directly, what will happen? It will give some error here. So if I'll compile it here, you see what is the error here? So here I cannot make a static reference to the non-static method print from the type static method. So here we need the object of this class. So here say if I'll define the objects of this class here, let's see, I'll define it here. Then say ob equal to new, then and then if I'll write it here ob dot print, now it takes, you see this, now it is taken. So here static method ob equal to new static method, so the error is gone. So this method is a non-static method. So if non-static methods, we need the objects. Without objects we can't call it. Okay, without object we can't call this. But if I'll define the methods, any method with a static keyword, we can call it directly because it directly belongs to the class. So let's say run it. So you said I am a static method, and the next method that I have defined is without a static. So for this we have to create the objects, and then with the help of that objects the method is called here. See, the method is I am a print method with no static keywords. So if there is no static keywords, so it required the objects. Okay, it required an object for calling that. So here I have given that no need of any objects. Okay, and static variables of a class are accessible to the static method. So static method will access the static variable also. So if I want to access any methods here, so let's now the next one is the static block. So what is a static block? Static block is used to initialize the static data members, and it executes before the main method at the time of the class loading. So here it's static block. Here block means in a curly brace, whatever we write it is in a curly brace. So here you see that is static, then the curly brace, then system.out.println, and I have written here I am a static block. So when I call it here, so it will print the I am a static block, and then I print the I am in main. Okay, let's see this example. Now I have defined the static block here. So this is the class name, static block, and this is the static block. Okay, so let's run it. So it said I am a static blocks. So when it class loaded, so the static things loaded first. Okay, whatever the static, it load first. Okay, then it will create the objects and all that. So here you see that in the main methods we have written this. So it will call after that. So here the I am a static block call first. See, I am not calling it here anything here, but whatever there in a static block, it will be called. Whatever there in the static block, it will call first. So it's very simple things. So here a static block is used to initialize the static data members. Say if there is any data members, that will also be initialized first, and then it executes. So whatever the static, if there is a variable like say a equal to 10, then it will define a equal to 10 first. Now after that, static blocks, the static class. So static class, a class can be made static only if it is nested class. In a static class, a nested class must be there. Without nested class, so static class cannot be defined. So here you see that public class nested class, a nested example. Now I am giving here nested examples, and I have given a private static string name Sachin Tendulkar. So here one variables I have defined as the Sachin Tendulkar, and that is the static. And now static class. Now here you see that static class, because this class is nested class. This class is defined, then within that class this class is defined. But when we defined as another class within a class, so we define the static here. So and then this is a non-static method. So here public void display. In this class we have defined the public void display. Then I have printed the name here, and this name is where it is. This name is in this class, and the method is defined within the nested class. That is the, and it is a static class. So when we will call that the public static void main here, so I have created a nested example dot nested class ob. So I have to give this the class name here, and then the next the nested class dot nested class, then ob, then new nested example dot nested class, and then ob dot display. So ob dot display is defined within this nested class. So we have to define the object like this in a nested object. Nested example, this class name, then the nested class name which is defined as a static class, and dot nested class ob equal to nested example dot nested class. Now ob dot display. See, one more example is a very interesting example in counter programs. Okay. So in counter, you know that when we use a counter, so one times when we run, then one counts, then another time we run, another counts. So what will I do? So if I don't write it here, like say I don't, I just delete this. I delete here and int count here, and then counter program here. This is the constructor. Okay, the class name, and this is the constructor, and count plus plus, and it will print counts. Let's run it first, and then here the test counter, and in test counter I have called 4 times the counter constructor. So here 4 object has been created. Let's call it. So all the value is 1 1 1 1. But if first time it is 1, second time must be 2, then it will be 3, then it will be 4. But here I have defined the variable as normal variables. Okay. Now if I define a variable with the help of a static keyword, with the help of static keywords, now again let's try it. I run it here. Again this I run it. Let's see what will happen here. Now here you see that when I have defined the static keyword as a counter, now and that keyword is called the another keyword that is called the final keyword. Okay. And here final, here when we define final in a variables, that variables cannot be changed. That variables cannot be changed. Here let's say if I define here final double pi 3.14. Okay, final double p. So let's I'll just enlarge it. Here I have defined it here. So final. Okay, and this is my blog here. So here final double pi 3.14. So this is the finals. If I say want to change it, it cannot be changed. And when we define final here, let's one example here. So let's I'll just take one example here, class. So here I'll give a final example. Final example, and I'll create here. Now I have defined here the final int number 10. Okay, now I have defined this, and I'll print this here. This one says out num. Okay, num. So when I define it here num as 10, but this variable is a finals. Let's run it. It just print the value here 10, nothing it. Now if I want to change the number here, num equal to, say I want to change the number here. You see there is an error. What is the error here? The final local variable num cannot be assigned. It must be blank and not using a compound assignment. So I cannot change the value after defining a 10. So when we define the final, so we cannot change it. And also when we define a final method, so we cannot override it. Okay, or so when we define that and if we define any class with a final keywords, so we cannot inherit that class. Okay, if I'll define any class with a final keyword, okay, if define any final keyword, so that class will not be inherited. Okay, it will not be not inherit. So this is the final keywords, little bit about that, and the static keyword. Hope that you are all understood about this static keyword, and then little bit about the final keywords. Okay.